here at the Aquarium of Niagara. And joining me today we have Liz, another one of our aquarists. You might have seen us before on a few other videos, and we are back today. And again, we are talking about turtles, but we're not talking about the yellow spotted turtle this time, right? We're talking about a completely different kind of turtle. And you're going to see it right behind us here. This is Clyde. And what is Clyde? What type of turtle? Clyde is a Florida Softshell Turtle. So you'll see he looks completely different than the normal turtles you would be seeing that have that really hard shell that they can kind of hide in and stay safe from everyone in. These guys are softshell turtles, so that means they don't have 1 ounce of bone in their body. All their body consists of is cartilaginous bone, just like what you find in your nose and your ears, and then that leathery skin covering all of that for them. So you'll see Clyde has some crazy webbed feet going on the front and back. Again, that really leathery skin all throughout his body, and that really different looking nose. Kind of looks like a pig snout almost.
Yeah, almost like a snorkel. Do they use it like a snorkel?
Yeah, definitely. It is like a snorkel. So softshell turtles, let's explain a little bit that they gave up protection. So they gave up that hard shell over the years of adapting to just have more mobility and be able to move quicker in their environment, both in the water and on land actually. So when these guys are pretty much hanging out throughout the day, they will bury themselves in the substrate, either a sandy substrate or a muddy substrate really, and then they can stay completely submerged under the sand, completely covered, and then extend that really long neck all the way to the surface to be able to breathe, just like a snorkel kind of thing. So that's kind of what you're seeing on his nose. That's what it looks like, and that's just kind of what they've adapted to do, be able to remain hidden underwater but still be able to breathe.
Exactly, because they're reptiles.
Exactly.
And they need to breathe air.
Yep.
Just like other reptiles need to do. So, like you mentioned, Clyde does have those claws on the front of its feet. Does he use that to move the sand out of the way?
Yeah.
Underneath it there?
Yeah, usually he'll get into a real frenzy and dig a really big pit out for himself. So you can kind of see the sand was dug out right here from last night, because this is where he likes to bury himself. So I left it unburied so you guys could see what he does. He literally would just pull him all the way and try to bury his back end at the same time as burying his front end. Now, in the mornings, I'll usually come through and rebury the hole in that he's created. Not only does that give him something extra to do during the day, but it also can help me sift through the sand of any dead pockets, really, and just clean up the sand as well.
Yeah, so sea turtles will have big flippers, and they live in the ocean. And we're really familiar with freshwater turtles around here. Freshwater turtles do have those claws. Does that mean that he is a freshwater turtle?
It doesn't necessarily indicate that specifically. You see a lot of marine turtles with those big flippers, because they don't have to deal with a lot in the way.
Yeah.
So a lot of ponds and streams and lakes where you'll find these guys, freshwater lakes, have a lot of seaweed or greens and stuff in the way, a lot more logs. It's not as an open space, I should say, for them to swim. So it's a little smaller, and those claws can help either remove food from their mouth if they don't want specific types of food, or try and crush it in half. Again, dig out their nests, and even help in just everyday life. So definitely needed.
All right, so we got a couple questions already.
Okay.
Number one is what range do these guys live in?
Okay, so softshell turtles, Florida softshell turtles, let's say, you're going to find them, Alabama, Louisiana, obviously Florida, not too south into Florida though. We've got some other predators down there that would love to snap down these guys, so they don't tend to go down there. And up into the Carolinas, I know. So softshell turtles in general like warmer waters. They don't like cold water. So you'll find them in more, let's say, tropical, warmer environments. Great question. Do we have any more?
Yeah, how big can they get?
How big can they get? So Florida softshell turtles, this guy right here, females can max out at like 25 inches. There have been some that have made it to the 30-inch mark. So that's a pretty good sized turtle. Males will usually end up being about half that size. So this one is obviously a full-grown adult, and they can actually live upwards of about 20 years is an estimated range right now. So about 25 inches in length, and that's the carapace, the top shell, 25 inches, and a lifespan of about 20 years.
Now, with this turtle and with other turtles too, it kind of looks like they're wearing their shell. Is that something that they can take off of their bodies, or that'd be cool if you could take it off their body?
Yeah. You know, their whole entire spine, all of their brain, their ribs are actually like infused to the shell itself. So I forgot to bring up an artifact for you guys to see, but all of the ridges that you kind of see on the back of Clyde's shell here, those are indications of where the ribs are actually connected to the top of the shell. And you can see right down the center of his shell, it's what would look like the spinal cord is. So it's directly attached to it. So unfortunately, they cannot just up and leave their shell, yeah.
But it's definitely a very unique shell, not something that we're used to seeing when we think of turtles.
No.
We usually think of that really hard structure, while Clyde has this really soft, fleshy structure.
Yeah, like I said earlier, their whole entire body is made of a leathery skin. So they don't shed their scutes as normal turtles do. They kind of just exfoliate that skin by burying themselves in the sandy bottoms to be able to clean that shell appropriately.
That's great. We got a lot of questions so far. Another one was, what are these guys avoiding? What kind of predators do they have?
Okay, so normally you see a lot of raccoons, foxes, you can get into alligators of some sort. Anything that really has the ability to catch these guys, because they are fast swimmers, like I said, and have the ability to really hold down on it to be able to eat the whole thing, really, unfortunately. Anything bigger than this, I would say.
And then, you know, a lot of people have turtles as pets. What about these animals? Are they ever seen as pets or in the pet trade?
That's a great question. So this softshell turtle, Clyde, like I said, he was actually a private donation. So he was someone's pet. Unfortunately, though, because they get so big, because they're such messy animals, because they have such delicate skin, they are hard to keep as pets. That's not saying that you can't. I would just suggest against it because they do need such good care and a large amount of water to be able to have the appropriate environment created for them. Another thing is too, this species of softshell, most species of softshell are a little more on the aggressive side. They like to live alone. They don't want to be bothered, and their scientific name literally means ferocious with this guy. So I would not suggest keeping them as pets. I think they're fantastic to remain in their natural environment and in education facilities like ours. Great question, though. Thank you.
Well, on the note of being eaten, what do they eat?
Great question. Well, guys, right, me too. I like to feed some animals for you, so we're going to feed Clyde. I have a couple things today. So softshell turtles like fish, aquatic crustaceans, insects, anything that they can really crunch down on in their natural environment. So anything that's small enough to fit in their mouth, really. So right here, I've got some mealworms. And then in this beaker, I have some herring cut up into some strips. I've noticed that every animal usually has their own personality, and Clyde likes little tiny pieces of food, not big. So I cut it up into strips for him. So I'm just going to climb up the ladder and have him come over, and you guys are more than welcome on. Please ask any more questions if you have. So when working with Clyde, I'll kind of try and, bring him over just by throwing some food in his general direction, and he'll eventually feel comfortable enough to come on over here. Now, with Clyde, we're working on trying to remove him out of the exhibit every month so we can get a weight and measure him. It's called morphometrics, just so we can get some good data on him, make sure he stays healthy. But for him to come over and eat out of my hand is very time consuming. It took a lot of time and patience to work with him, really for him to build that trust with me. So I want him to know that this bright blue glove I have on, it will be this, I'll have this glove on when I pull him out to do morphometrics, but I don't want him to be scared of that. So I'll feed him nice and slow, get him used to this blue glove, and then go on to the next step with him.
Now, I know we were talking a little bit about predators with these guys. Are they susceptible to introduce predators into their natural habitat, especially being down in Florida areas?
Yeah, think about Florida, you got a crazy amount of insane animals that live down there. And if you have an animal that's big enough to try and tackle this one, they're gonna try because it's new to them. So that all goes back to invasive species. You just want to make sure the animals stay where they're naturally from, pretty much.
Definitely.
And that goes into, say you want to house this guy as a pet. You've done all your research, you take great care of them, but 5 years later you don't want them anymore. You don't want to just release them into the wild. You want to find someone that can either take them or find a way to house them appropriately then.
Now, while he's enjoying his lunch, do we have any more questions, Eric?
One question we had is, would an octopus ever be a predator of a softshell turtle?
If a freshwater octopus ever made its way, I don't see why not. But octopuses usually hang out in the ocean. So if the softshell ever went to the ocean, then maybe, or vice versa. But as of right now, it should be no.
And Alyssa, how long have you specifically been working with Clyde?
I have been working with Clyde since he joined us about 3 years ago now. So he's been literally my favorite animal in this whole place. I love turtles, love turtles, and this was the first time I ever got to work with soft shells. So I had to learn pretty much everything new about turtles because they act completely different than a regular turtle. Like Sam was mentioning earlier, they don't have that hard shell. They bury themselves. They have that really long neck that you see coming up. There are some turtle species, snake neck turtles, that have the really long neck, but they still have that hard shell. Yeah. So this guy kind of goes against all regular turtle instincts, yeah, info and everything.
He's very unique for sure.
Mm-hmm. So you'll see he's just munching on some mealworms now. They're one of his favorite snacks we like to give him. He can have a bunch of other fish. We have lake smelt. We can give him some capelin. He'll eat some shrimp. He loves earthworms too. Like I said, just imagine whatever's on the bottom of a pond or lake that's crunchy and delicious, full of protein, that turtle's probably going to go after.
Would he ever be known to eat any type of aquatic plant?
You know, in their younger years, they are thought to be somewhat of an omnivore, meaning they eat both, the plants and fish. Once they get to an adult life stage, though, they really don't go after plants as much. I did try giving him lettuce and seaweed and a couple other greens for a while there, and he wouldn't really do anything with it. It was more just fun for him to tear up the stuff, but he never really ate it. So they're mostly carnivores.
All right.
Very cool.
Now you also see I have this big stack of bricks right here. I know it doesn't look as pretty, but it's for him to haul out. So you'll see the bright light above the tank. Turtles, all kinds of turtles, at some point need to be able to haul out of the water and dry their shell off. That's how they can keep their shell clean and healthy, is because they can't be in the water all the time. Think if you're in the shower for too long and your fingers get that really ugly wrinkly thing going on. That's because your body's telling you it's time to get out of the water. Turtles need the same thing. So they'll come out, I should say Clyde, and he'll hang out on this little basking area under this really nice heat lamp, and that heat lamp puts it at about 85 degrees in the haul out, so his shell can dry off, stay nice and healthy, and he'll go back in whenever he wants to. So with reptiles, you really want to give them the option of a cold area and a warmer area, so they have that choice to go to each one, or either one, I should say.
Go to our website, aquariumofniagara.org, if you feel so generous and you would like to donate to our facility. But guys, we really appreciate you tuning in, and don't forget to come back and we do our 2 o'clock live presentations again. Thanks, guys. Bye.
All right, thank you everyone, and don't forget to use the hashtag #IMissMyAquarium too. We'd love to see all of you guys thinking about us here. Have a wonderful day, everyone.